Sometimes in life, you get to experience what I call one of those pinch me moments. You know the type, you meet your hero, or you've got that beautiful kind of sunrise over the mountains, or a sunset on a beach that you experience with your loved one. And these aren't experiences that you can really treasure through a screen. You've got to be there in person. You've got to put down your phone, you've got to put down your tablet and just soak in the moment. I'm having one of those myself this morning. However, you are going to have to experience it through a screen, I'm afraid. But this is my pinch me moment, because this morning a very kind gentleman from BMW handed me the keys to this, a 1973 BMW 3-litre CSL. In other words, the Batmobile. Welcome to this week's classic car review. Welcome to the BMW 3-litre CSL Batmobile. Please come in, sit down and make yourself comfortable in the house of cars. Now obviously we've become used to me doing new car reviews, whether it's been Auto EV or on House of Cars. But now, as I say, I'd quite like to take you on a journey with our first of our classic car reviews. Cars that I think deserve another look at, cars I think that hold a special place in my heart and hopefully yours. And I say this is one of them, the 1973 BMW 3-litre CSL. Now I'm going to tell you all about the history of the car, and we're going to take it for a drive, and I'm going to tell you what it's like to experience a machine such as this. But before I do that, would you mind ever so much making sure that you are subscribed to the House of Cars website? Once you've done that, press the little bell button that's down below, because that's where you get notified when our next video is uploaded and it goes live. If you do enjoy it, then please make sure that you give it a little thumbs up afterwards, and don't forget, leave me your thoughts in the comments section down below, or any questions that you may have. As I say, it's quite a new channel for me, so I do hope that you're going to enjoy the first ever classic car reviews with this epic BMW. Now this might be difficult to believe, especially what we know of BMW these days, but back then they weren't really renowned as a performance car manufacturer. They were seen as the makers of well-engineered, yet ultimately conservative luxury saloon cars. But it wanted to change its image. And how would it go about doing so? Well, of course, like many manufacturers back then, it would do so by going racing. And the championship in which it saw its most the best chance of success was in the European Touring Car Championship. Now again, we're used to the term homologation special these days, after such things as the Ford Sierra Cosworth and of course Lancia Delta Integrales and Mitsubishi Lancer Evos. But back then, again, it was fairly much unheard of. This is one of the first homologation specials, because in order to compete in the European Touring Car Championship, BMW had to make 1,000 units of the car that it was going to race with. Now it took its very elegant E9 coupe, the 3-litre coupe that it built, and basically handed it across to a gentleman by the name of Joachim Neerspach. And Joachim basically took the car and decided that the best way to make it go fast was to make it light. Neerspach's engineers would strip 210 kilograms out of the car, dropping its weight down to 1,165 kilos. And they would do that by using thinner steel in the body construction, lightweight aluminium on the bonnet, the doors and the rear boot lid. And they would also replace the side glass with plexiglass. Now, of course, aerodynamics were making a big headway in Formula One, and that was transpiring across to the touring cars. And again, another reason why the BMW was so successful, and of course the reason why it earned its nickname of the Batmobile, was due to the wings. Veins running up the front wings that would channel air along the side of the car. This removal of the front bumper to incorporate this big air dam with more cooling for the engine at the front. And of course the main reason why it got that nickname, the big roof spoiler and the huge rear spoiler on that boot lid. Now, when it came to homologation, it didn't just apply to the number of cars built, it also applied to the swept displacement of its engines. In other words, to compete in the Group 2 category that BMW were going to field the car in, each car had to have a displacement of over 3 litres, which the BMW E9 didn't. Its M30 engine only had a swept capacity of 2,936 cc's. So what did it do? Well, it bored out each cylinder by 1/4 of a millimetre to take the total displacement now up to 3,153 cc's, enough to get it into the category. And power leapt a mighty 3 brake horsepower from 203 to 206. But in fairness, in race trim, they were putting out over 400 brake horsepower in a car that weighed the same as a Jacobs cracker. If there's one area of the Batmobile that sort of betrays its origins back to the luxury car manufacturer that BMW was, it's in the interior. Now, despite these sort of like real sort of like motorsport, sort of like figure-hugging bucket seats, proper bucket seats, and the thin-rimmed leather steering with 3-spoke leather steering wheel, it's at odds slightly with this kind of wood that you get across the dashboard and of course along the doors as well. But that's what the E9 Coupe was. As I say, it was that kind of luxury grand tourer style that BMW had kind of got renowned for. You're faced with very simple sort of like dials in front of you. You've got a clock, you've got a fuel gauge, you've got a temperature gauge, and then you've got a rev counter and a speedo. That's it. There's no iDrive controller in here, kids. This is what you're faced with. You want entertainment, then you've got a long wave and a medium wave radio down there, which also happens to have a little cassette, I think, as well, believe it or not. No aircon, that's it. But of course, you've got these beautiful kind of quarter lights which you can just open up. And of course, while the rear windows as well will open electrically, thanks to sort of the UK concessionaires wanting some small luxuries for their customers, you've got proper Spanish waiter windows in the front. Manuel, they'll keep you fit. It's simple, it's elegant, and it's nothing more than what you need. Let's go for a drive. Now, driving the Batmobile just reminds me of what I love about classic cars. There's no safety aids, there's no driving modes, there's no ABS brakes, there's no fancy screens that you've got to go through to set everything up before you set off. You get in, you turn the wheel, you start the engine, and you go for a drive. You got to let it warm up. That's, you know, that's as much as you need to do, dare I suggest, with an old car like this. But even so, you know, its fuel injection system it gets the car up to temperature just right, and you start to enjoy it. The gearbox, it's that firm sort of like, you know, sort of like lovely mechanical feel that you're used to with BMW manuals. 4-speed, that's all, no 5th gear on these. Pedals beautifully placed, easy for a little heel and toe downshift. And unassisted steering, that's the other thing that I love about it. No power steering on the car. You know, different modes to go through to set the steering up to get it how you like it. That's it. It's been set by BMW's engineers, some of the best that the world has ever seen. And you can tell that just as you get into second, pitch it into a bend and you just feed the power in and it goes round. God, this is just delectable. It's delicate, yet firm. Apologies for the noise, that's my tripod rolling around on the floor. But as I say, it's delicate, yet it's firm, it's weird, it's a strange kind of juxtaposition that you get between something that feels heavy and solid in its mechanical setup, you know, the gear shift and the steering, to get feeling light and dainty in its chassis. I think that's sort of the holy grail with sort of like any sort of like motorsport derived car. If you can make it feel sturdy and sort of like well engineered, yet light enough and deft, where you're just getting it through a series of bends, and just know that you're driving it exactly how it was intended, it's fabulous. It's absolutely sensational to drive. Now, 206 brake horsepower doesn't seem like an awful lot, not these days, not when, you know, you'll get that out of one of BMW's 1 Series hatchbacks. But remember, this car only weighs just over 1,100 kilos, you know, which is light. And as I say, it's weird that, as I say, that they've got a car that's so light yet feels so planted, so secure on the road. And as I say, in its mechanical setup, just feels sturdy. I love that. I suppose in many ways this is sort of BMW's 911 Carrera RS. It's their equivalent of that car, and that's a car that also manages to get, I think the Germans really did it well with their homologation specials, the way that they got them just to sort of like feel like proper pieces of engineering, yet light enough that you could just string a set of bends together and feel heroic. And that's what you do. It might sound silly, that's exactly what it feels like. It feels heroic to drive when you get it right. And it doesn't help you. You've got to do it. That's what I love about the car. That's what I love about old cars. It takes a while to learn it. You know, you can't just jump in it and just expect to know it straight away and expect to drive fast straight away. You've got to take time. It's a relationship with the car. You've got to take time to get to know it. You've got to take time to build a trust between you, to let the machine know that you are worthy of it. And you might think I'm being silly, but that's how I feel about these old cars. You know, no ABS brakes, no reset button if you get it wrong. You've got to learn it. You've got to be worthy of it. I can't even begin to imagine what these things must have been like round the Nordschleife or Zandvoort. You know, all four wheels off the curbs, Hans Stuck completely in control and knowing exactly what he was doing. These guys were heroes. But God, it's, you know, when you get it right, it just rewards you. And I love it. And it's why it's always been one of my absolute favourite cars, and I've always wanted to drive one. It doesn't disappoint. You know, they say never meet your heroes. Don't listen to the buggers, because I've met one of mine today and he's bloody brilliant. Rear wheel drive, unassisted steering, well judged ratios in the 4-speed box, just as God intended. It's no wonder these things were victorious. With Hans Stuck behind the wheel, the car took the championship in 1973, and then every year from 1975 until 1979. The 3-litre CSL, or as it should be known as, the Coupe Sport Leichtbau, is quite a significant car in BMW's history. And you'll notice that it doesn't wear an M badge, but it wears the M colours. Now these colours came about very simply because the blue was from the BMW blue. The red was from a sponsorship deal that was in the throes that ultimately never happened with Texaco. The purple, well, that's the colour you get when you mix blue and red together. So despite it not wearing the M badge, this was BMW's first M car. The Batmobile was not just a vanity project, because it really changed people's perception of BMW as a car maker. As I say, it went from sort of like the maker of very well engineered but ultimately quite dull and lifeless luxury saloons to being quite a performance car brand. And whilst it may not have been the first homologation special that the world ever saw, it's probably one of its most significant. And I reckon without this car, we wouldn't have had the M department. We wouldn't have had cars such as the M5, the M3s, the M4s that we now take for granted that we see every day. We probably wouldn't have even seen the daddy of them all, the M1. So whilst it's not badged as an M car, as I say, this really was the genesis of the M department. This was the first. And because of that, this one is really special. Thank you for watching our first of our classic car reviews on House of Cars. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, then please make sure you give it a little thumbs up down below, and of course make sure that you are subscribed to the House of Cars YouTube channel. If you press the little bell button down below, you'll get a notification of when my next video is up and live. As I say, we're doing not just new car reviews now. As I say, remember, we're also doing classic car reviews, and there will be more to come. I'm also on social media as well, so at House of Cars 1973 on Instagram. If you can give me a little follow there, that would be fantastic as well, if you don't mind. All it remains for me to say is thank you once again for watching. As I say, I hope you've enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon.